Yeah, yeah.
All right, we're jumping. You've seen middleweight Joe Pyfer. Joe, how's it going, man?
Good, good. Thanks for having me, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Like, obviously, the big news is your documentary. Like, can you kind of talk about how that kind of came together and your why you decided to do one on the journey to the UFC?
Yeah, it really wasn't my decision or my idea at first. It was my friend Chandler Henry's, and we had gone to high school together. I was going through what I was going through in high school. Running away from home and dealing with abuse from a father and things of that matter. And he kind of learned that as our friendship developed over the years. And post high school, he wound up hitting me with the idea of like, hey, man, like, you're doing this full time. I really love it. You got a couple fights now. You should probably tell your story so you can connect with fans and just. I think it's an astounding story to come back from, especially if you make the UFC one day. I think you should do it, and that's kind of where the idea started. And then my journey, just we never got to do it because my journey was up, down, up, down, up, down with just an injury. Obviously, with the Contender Series, one of my first losses, things like that. So, but yeah, that's where the idea transpired is shortly after high school, and then we kind of started collecting film, and kind of went from there.
Was there ever a thought of like, let's keep this in the back pocket until like you get like top 10, top five or whatever in the division, or like you win a title? So then obviously the story's a lot bigger. Like, was that ever thought for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's not a bad idea when it's coming to the dollar signs, yeah. But nah, I never thought of it that way because I never thought about doing this in general. Like again, it wasn't really my idea initially. I never knew that something like this could get this big, right? And I also, when I decided to do it, I didn't want to do like the typical Conor McGregor documentary where you've already made it, you're already the man, you already don't have to fight, and then there's a documentary that comes out. I want to do this along the journey. I want to do this why it's raw. I want to do this why I'm a contender before I'm a contender. Because this is where the journey starts. A lot of people do the journey once they make it, but why not do it along the way? So I think it's a little bit different. I think it's a little bit more relatable, and I also think it's a little bit more raw. This isn't, I'm still not buku dollars. I live in a condo, which I love. So um, I'm not a millionaire. I'm not making hundreds of thousands of dollars yet, and yeah, this is the poor kid story, man.
How hard was it to like go back and kind of relive all that stuff, like telling your story in the documentary, kind of everything you've been through then?
I would say initially it was hard because I hadn't fully forgiven my parents. I hadn't forgiven the situation. I still was holding on to a lot of anger with it. But, the older that I've gotten, I would say for the past 3, 4 years, I've really forgiven them and really let go of any negative anger that's attached to them. As far as when I'm able to talk about it, I don't get upset about it. Sometimes I'll get upset about it because I'll reminisce. That's a family member that I'll lose forever, just because it's just the reality of the situation. You know what I mean? Like they don't accept their wrongdoings. They don't accept judgment. They don't accept criticism. They don't accept anything of any type of wrongdoings that they've ever done to anybody. They're the victims themselves. So you know what's sad about it is that I'm not the only victim. There was 4 others, being my sisters and things of that matter. So it's just, it was hard to talk about at first, but I don't attach any negative emotion with them anymore, just because I think it's written in stone who they are as people, and time will tell the truth on everybody, as I always used to believe. So.
Obviously, it did come out. Was it last week? I think it was. Like, what kind of was the reception of it from everyone?
I mean, it's not out yet.
Or
No.
no, sorry, it's coming out. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we had a premiere.
Yeah,
So
that's what it
we
was.
had we
Yeah,
had a premiere for my close friends,
yeah.
and people I call family. So we had a premiere. We had a couple people out there to view it and see it, and the reception was a standing ovation in the end. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people didn't really understand the depths of it, especially ones that are friends but not close friends. So it was pretty cool to see them stand up and everybody pretty much being on the brink of swollen eyes and choked up and fighting back tears. Grown men and guys that have gone through their own hard lives, rightfully so. So it was cool. The reception was great. The love that I felt from it, just the journey itself has been really crazy. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely inspirational, I would say, and it is hard to watch for me.
I know you obviously had the premiere with a lot of friends. Like, did they fully know like kind of everything that you went through? Like, or was the documentary kind of like the first time that a lot of them kind of realized like how like serious like it was for you?
Yeah, no, a lot of my close friends know exactly, every detail. My best friend, David Stevens, Chandler knows all the details, obviously the producer. A lot of my close friends really know a lot of what has happened. As far as, I would say the extent of certain teammates, that I'm friends with, but, I don't hang out with type thing. They didn't understand how long I've been in the sport, how long I've been training, how long I've been competing. Um, the extent of the damage from the injury. A lot of people thought it was just a dislocation type deal, but it was much deeper than that. It was much more extensive than that, and obviously having to go back for a second surgery. Um, it was a lot more involved. So, as far as the close friends, yes. As far as my wrestling coaches and coaches, yes, they understood the extent. And so I would say about a good 20 people really know uh, everything that I've been through. So.
And then when like can the public kind of fully see it then, and like how do they watch it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm working with Alex Davis and his whole team and Disruptive Sports Group, DSG, and alongside with my manager. Those are my two backings right there, Lloyd Pearson. But yeah, this is completely in Alex Davis's and my hands. Moving forward, so we're dealing with a couple negotiations and deals, and just talking to people and figuring out what the best option is moving forward, what platform to show it on. This is about trying to get as many eyeballs to see it as possible. So, it's very promising, and we're looking forward to those negotiations, which we are having. And, the second we find out, you guys will find out. And when we're able to let you guys know, we will. So, but, it's going to be it's going to be, I don't know, maybe I would say 2 to 5 month wait still.
Yeah.
These things take a little bit of time, and, it's not a matter of somebody not wanting it. So that's a good problem to have.
Did you have like final say on like what the documentary is like? Like I know obviously McGregor's new documentary came out and they kind of from what I heard is he didn't have a say of what was shown, what wasn't. Like, did you have that, or did you just kind of leave it all in Chandler's hands of how it was shown?
Well, I mean, listen, I had a say, right? But I didn't have a say because I didn't have anything to complain about. Chandler is someone I call a friend and have called a friend for 10 years now. And yeah, I had no complaints, man. I didn't really have to have a say. There was no like real critiques. I'm not a filmmaker or anything of that matter. And the way he delivers it, I'm not somebody who's sensitive to what's put out there. You know what I mean? So the way he delivered it, I think it was raw. It was emotional. It really brings out like the chills. It brings out the emotions. It brings out the I just don't know how to explain it without letting people watch it, but it basically explains what I can't articulate
Mm.
into words, and that's what I think Chandler Henry's gift is being able to deliver a message that I'm not able to vocalize. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, I do have a say in it, and I would have a say in it, and he would respect that. But I had no reason to. And moving forward, even with this deal, DSG has been able to secure that I do have a say, and ultimately, what I say is most important to them, and how I feel. So this is my life story. I don't get to redo this. I don't get to remake this, and not for nothing. I need to make it count. Why I can, and make sure that it reaches as many people as possible.
Is there like a thought too of like maybe you end up doing a world title, like you can add on to it or like have a second part to the story of kind of like that final chapter of like it all was worth it to win that title in the end?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, man, I'm not chasing a gold here. I'm chasing a goal, not gold. So, what matters is what I'm going to be happy with, where I see my career going, what goals I've set for myself that I believe I can achieve, and then some. So, if I win a title, which I can't see how I don't, this will all make sense, right? But even if it doesn't happen and I never win a title, this is still a success story. This is still somebody who's defied the odds, somebody who's come from poverty and come from being poor, come from being doubted, come from no financial or family support, and has developed a team that's probably bigger than most fighters right now. So I don't think there is a way for me to lose, even if it's through a fight. That's just a fight. That's not a loss in life. I've already done so much. Um, that I am a successful person, and I don't see how all those doors could close based off of a result of a fight. So yeah, there could be a part two. You know what I mean? I mean, look, this is the journey to the UFC, and that's what I think makes this authentic. This isn't my journey. Now I'm in the UFC. This is the journey to the UFC. This is what I sacrificed to get to this moment. This is what I gave to get in the UFC. This is how I overcame being rejected from the UFC, because of the loss and the injury. So, but this is what I did to get back to the UFC. So these are things that people don't understand. Like if you ask the common person, they don't understand how you get in the UFC. They have no clue. It doesn't make any sense to them. You can tell them it's like a draft, bro. Like, hey, look, you got to win this many, and then you might get a call. And they're like, oh, so there's no blueprint on if you win 5, you get a call. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. So I think this really shows that aspect of it. It shows the aspect of, most fighters that are broke like myself, leading to the UFC. And absolutely, this is journey to the UFC, and then this will be the journey in the UFC, if there was a part two, just to show how I've done since I've gotten in, how life has changed for me.
Just a couple more things, just more on your kind of career. Like obviously coming off a good knockout over Gerald. Like I know you have the grappling match in May. Like when is kind of that time frame for you to return then?
No idea. I do have a couple injuries that I'm nursing, so I'm going to do this grappling match and see how my body feels. And I'm training very carefully right now, hopefully trying to avoid surgery. So I'm just trying to see how my body's responding. And it's going to be dependent on this grappling match and seeing how I feel, man. So if I have to get surgery after this match, then that's what I have to do. But we'll see. It's very dependent. This next 2 weeks is going to tell a lot. If I have to get surgery, then probably not until the fall. But if I feel good and my body's not hurting, I could win and still feel like shit. But if my body's hurting, then we'll see. Maybe late summer.
Is that Dustin fight still one you want? Like I think like personally, I think you're ahead of him, like with your 2 wins, but like I know you called for him. Like is that one you still just kind of want just to get back?
Listen, I always want that fight as long as he's in the UFC. At the end of the day, this guy is 1-4 in the UFC. I am 2-0 in the UFC. We're not that far apart. He's got 5 fights in the UFC. I have 2 fights in the UFC. Okay, so for the people that think that I'm so far ahead of him, just because somebody put me ahead on the rankings doesn't make me that far ahead of him. And at the end of the day, if we're the best in the world and everybody's fighting for the same goal, why can't I fight that man? That's my opinion. I have one more win than he does.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, absolutely. I would love that fight. I would love for him to even ask for that fight. I've called him out numerous times. I've even been disrespectful while not trying to be. I've been disrespectful in calling him out, completely dismissing his skills, dismissing his win. Because ultimately he did mat return me. But it seems to be like I'm chasing a rabbit in the dark. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to get it. So it's just they think I'm too far ahead of him, and they don't really think that it makes sense. I think it makes sense. It's personal for me. It's revenge. It's redemption. It's all those things. So, yeah, I always want that fight. But if I don't get it, onward and forward, you know what I mean? I've come to peace to what it is. It's just I will always call for that fight as long as that man is employed under the same organization.
Outside of that, like, is it then, if it isn't him, like, is it just really whoever the UFC gives you then?
No, it's got to make sense. Like you know what I mean. Like it is whoever the UFC wants to give me, sure, but it's got to make sense. Like why would I break into the top 15 yet, man? Like I'm still on a base contract,
Yeah.
that just doesn't make sense to me. And I'm not stupid. I'm not dumb. I'm not going to fight somebody that I think is a top 15 contender. That is a tough fight that I could have a war with, and really only come out. God forbid I lost. It's like. I'm not really guaranteed much. So that's what I'm uncomfortable with is my guaranteed. I'm not guaranteed much at all. So, and I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. I'm getting paid what I'm getting paid and I'm cool with it. But as long as I'm getting paid what I'm getting paid, I'm not going to take a top 15 fight.
Where did you kind of learn that? Because like I've talked to a couple fighters that kind of had that same attitude, or it's like cool. It'd be cool to be in the top 10, but like the pay doesn't equal like the level of competition or like the level of danger that was kind of presents with injuries. Like, where did you kind of learn that? Where it's like it's not a huge rush for you, and like the pay kind of has to match the opponent.
Well, listen, if I was given a full camp, I would take it. Okay,
Mhm.
with that pay, I would take it. But I wasn't given a full camp. And listen, they're giving me an opportunity, so I'm just thankful that my name's in the hat for an opportunity against a top 15 guy, right? So I'm not complaining about that. I'm not even complaining. I'm just saying no, and it's just dry and cut. It's a no because I know my body. I need a full week. I need a full camp, 8 to 12 weeks. I'm a powerful kid. I'm a big dude for my weight division, and I need the full preparation, let alone mentally, physically. I like to feel like I'm in a full camp. I want to be the best prepared for an opportunity like that. And this was a little bit too soon. The date they were offering, it was actually a lot of bit too soon. And I just knew my body wasn't going to do it with the injuries that I'm trying to nurse right now. I just knew that it wasn't going to happen. So, that's why I said no primarily. But, at the end of the day, it was also 5, 6 weeks, not even less than that. And it's like there's really no upside. I get in the
Mhm.
top 15 and I'm still hurt. And then I had to get sick. I'm just not. It just doesn't make any sense for me, man. But to answer your question, I've been doing this shit since I was 4.5 years old. I'm around a ton of UFC fighters on my team. I've been around Eddie Alvarez all my life, and and other athletes, such as Sam Orpiza, who had fought, and doesn't fight anymore. But they've all gone through it. Sometimes the people that don't make it didn't make it because they had shitty managers, or they
Mhm.
took the wrong fights, or they took short notice fights, and then they wound up losing, even though they were better, but they didn't have the cardio and shit like that. So I just listen. I'm 26 years old. I got 2 knockouts in the UFC already, and I'm doing good, man. So I'm just gonna take my time. I want to make sure that my first and foremost that my body is healthy, and that's where I'm at. It was too short of a time frame, and my body isn't 100%. So I'm not going to put myself in that position where I'm not 100%.
Just two more things. You just brought up Eddie. Like, what did you make of his bare knuckle fight? Because like Eddie seems like the perfect guy to be like a BKFC guy. Just like his whole career, like he seemed destined to have at least one fight in bare knuckle.
It was awesome to see. I mean, look, a man with that kind of career, a man with that kind of status, a man with that kind of resume, to still be able to beat guys. I mean, let's be honest. I like Chad Mendes, but that boy was on some shit. He was yoked up. So, and Eddie, has never done anything his entire life. So it's cool to go see a man that has a full fledged family, a wife, and is a dedicated father to go out there and probably not be his younger self as far as motivation, but go out there and just still pull it off, still win, still get the finish of all things. So it was cool shit, man. I love Eddie, and Eddie's always been an inspiration for me. He's always been a role model as far as without knowing it, just being the guy that led the way by just being a dog, man. He's not the most technical guy, but he's technical. He has thought process. He has a business mind for this game as he's gotten older, and he really does look at the future, for security for not just himself but his family. So being able to go out there, being able to go for him to be able to go out there and get that win and watch him do that, it was pretty cool, man. I love Eddie. So
And just final thing, like, do you not think for you guys now, it's just like a matter of if not when, like the UFC comes back to Philly, like your team is obviously killing it, like, and you guys could have a whole main card of just kind of your team, and like, what would that kind of be like for you guys to all get that return fight in Philly in the UFC?
I mean, look, man, I don't understand why they don't. Wells Fargo's right there. It's right by the Lincoln Financial Field. You obviously got the Philly Stadium, Eagle Stadium, neck and neck, right next to each other. You got the Xfinity Center right there. So it's like I don't understand why they don't come up this way. It doesn't make any sense to me. But I don't not really sure like what their fan base is here on the East Coast as far as Philadelphia. But I think it's big. I feel it's big. You got 5 guys. You got five UFC fighters just in my gym alone
Hmm.
from Philadelphia. So you got me, Pat, Jeremiah, Sean, and then you got Andre. So that right there is 5 Philly guys. Throw us in there. So I'm hoping they do, man. I don't see why they don't. I don't know if they're cool with the commission or whatever that issue is, but I hope it happens soon because I would love, to be able to main card one of those events when they do.
Well, Joe, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. Appreciate it, brother.